introductions when social media kicks in. Go on, introduce it. Hello everyone, on Zoom we have just turned on the switches for the AHDB Talking Leaders August edition. If you've been with us before, you know what we're waiting for. We're waiting for all the social media lights to come on. Isaac, say hello to everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
And Isaac, you're just going to introduce Xander before we do the formal introductions when social media kicks in. Go on, introduce Xander for us.
Yeah, so Xander and I first met when we woke up next to each other in a hotel room in Vancouver at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we were lying there, and both awake and looking at each other, and started chatting, and we realized we had so much in common that we just lay there chatting for the next sort of 6 or so hours. Xander, is that about right?
Yeah, absolutely, on the other side of the globe.
Yeah. We were roommates for the Nuffield Scholar Conference in Vancouver, so hence we were in a hotel room together. So, but yeah, that's how we.
Sorry. So Nuffield brought you together, and you've become firm friends ever since.
Yeah, we since Xander's been to mine, I've been to Xander's. We've actually been to number 10 Downing Street together, so yeah, it's been coming to the hip.
Excellent. Isn't that the beauty of the likes of Nuffield? That you're both sort of swimming in your own ecosystems, sort of related, but then it brings you together. And now you're going to be friends for life, and both your ecosystems are going to merge as one. Xander, would that be a good way of describing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're talking about it again. I really don't know how they actually do make the matches of people in these hotel rooms from Nuffield. So they must have done some research to get us matched, but it was a match made in heaven in that case, because I really enjoyed that.
Excellent. And gentlemen, Isaac, talking about matching in heaven, all the social media lights are on. So shall we start, Isaac, professionally? Shall we start like we're meant to?
Let's do it, Max.
Hello everyone, my name is Max McGillibury from Beanstalk Global. Absolute pleasure to be here with you today on our fantastic Talking Leaders series with the AHDB. And it's a pleasure today to have Xander Beks on, the CEO of I4Nature. We're going to be discussing food to lead the future. So just for those all dialed in on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and also Facebook, and also on the podcast series, just going to give a bit of background to Xander. Do look at his website, especially www.i4Nature.world, because you'll find a lot more information over and above that's what we're going to talk about. And you can also follow him and his colleagues as to what they're looking to achieve, because it's very inspiring. Isaac, do you want to just give a bit of background to AHDB and also the Talking Leaders series, please?
Yes, Max. So I work for AHDB, the Agriculture and Horticultural Development Board. We are a levy-funded organisation working on behalf of farmers. We help with things like facilitating exports. We do market analysis and market intelligence. We do some engagement or knowledge exchange with farmers, with meetings and information. We help with that. We look at consumer trends. Pardon me. We also do some marketing campaigns, and actually, we've just had a really exciting launch with Bucks, so the university athletics across the country, so Milk Every Moment, so it's really exciting about. So that campaign that's just kicked off. We work with schools and teachers, getting some resources into schools to get the next generation closer to their food. So yeah, various things that we do. The bit that I lead on is something called AgriLeader, and this Talking Leaders is part of that. And we basically work on the concept of leading yourself, leading the people around you, and leading your business. So yeah, so that's what I do.
Well done. And Xander, where this Talking Leaders series works so well is that Isaac and his colleague Mark and the other colleagues from AHDB, we've had some fascinating people on. And Xander, where it really challenges all of us is that Isaac and Mark are very good at finding these mercurial individuals like yourself who are slightly outside of the UK agricultural comfort zone. Because we Isaac, we're of this view that if we can sort of challenge ourselves by hearing from other people who might challenge us, Xander, it's going to better us as individuals, but also as an organisation. But let me just give you a bit more background on Xander before we let him speak properly. So we're delighted to have Xander on, as I said earlier, CEO of I4Nature Global Cooperative in the Netherlands, based in the Netherlands, to discuss reshaping the future of food. Xander is driven by his passion for navigating complex issues within multi-stakeholder environments. He's trained as an agricultural, military, and social institutional engineer, and his expertise spans working with various organizational systems in ag, including education, labor markets, and government, from local to international levels. Since 2012, Xander has led I4Nature, focusing on meaningful consultancy, future leadership, capacity building, and strategic events. This initiative evolved from a youth program at the ministry into a cooperative. He's developed numerous programs, fostered international collaborations, and established networks aimed at adapting to a rapidly changing world, particularly through initiatives like Young Boards and I4Nature Stage, a network for young people. Currently, Xander is seeking deeper insights through the Nuffield program to guide the future direction of the farm and its organisation. He aims to develop learning networks for farmers focused on future-proof agriculture, furthering his commitment to sustainable practices and education. Xander, over to you and your chickens. Was that a good?
Sorry.
Was that a good update on you, please?
I didn't ask them to help me in this conversation, but apparently these ladies find it useful to interrupt our conversation.
They must carry on. They must carry on. It's brilliant.
But yeah, I'm sitting here at since a couple of years this new location we're building I4Nature base as well. But the main reason is it's a farm, it's a dairy farm, and I would like to comfort you that being on the edge of the UK, I did a proper part of my education within the UK at the Hillsborough Institute. So I can comfort, I made a base for what I do now in your own grounds. And really great to talk to you, and always been a pleasure. I've seen Max and Isaac, of course. So yeah, we're also ready to pick your brains.
So Isaac, take us away.
So now just you gave a bit of an intro there to Xander, but Xander, so I've heard the story already, but so can you just tell the listeners a bit of your own journey, and especially about I4Nature, what it's all about and how you came to do this?
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for the invitation also to do that, because I think one of the things that drives me is to get people, especially young people, and their potential out in the open, to be benefited for all the big challenges we're in for. I4Nature, I think the name resonates. It's the fact we want to have young people, but everybody to work for nature, because that's the boundaries on this planet we have to work with. And I believe agriculture provides this great landscape in which we find all these challenges. The whole globe is a challenge, if it's about climate or sustainability. And no, I haven't been born on a farm. I made my way into, when I was a young boy at, I think, 12, curious where my mother went with some friends who were on the farm. And I started helping out on a Saturday afternoon, and I never left for 30 years after. So, and this is where the interest came on farming. I never knew actually what I wanted. And I think this is still the way I make decisions in my life, is the intuition. I thought, okay, this might be interesting. And this is why I ended up in marketing, doing a study of agriculture engineering, with a labor market where you didn't have a opportunity, in contrast to now, with no work experience. I ended up at the Ministry of Agriculture, and I really, really had a pleasure there, because I really found out that it resonated with what I wanted to do. This, what young people want to do right now is contribute to a better world. And I spent over 10 years there, and what I know now, I didn't know at that stage, is that the role I had as the chair of a young civil service network within the ministry, where I was the young person at that stage. This is a long time ago, guys, but I liked that role so much, and I would like to provide that role for every young person in society. And the minister asked me to set up a young youth program, and this is what I've been taking on the journey, which became now I4Nature. There's a lot of steps along the way, but what drives me is the potential we can unlock we're not using right now. I think of people in general, but for the new generation. And afterwards, when I started this all, and in 2012, I took on the program into my own organization. I found out this is really what practice, what we preach is about. As in, I found out to keep true to yourself and your own motivation, intrinsic motivation. And this for me was unlocking the potential of young people. And this is what I hope to have for every young person in the world is find your own passion, your true self, and contribute to the big playing field of whatever dynamics you're coming into in the world. And this is also, I think, where Nuffield is a little bit about in family farming. And I've been pioneering ever since, leaving the ministry and started in the region I lived and see working on my own what it would be like. And I ended up being in this global conversations because we're working globally by now. And what I'm not very good at is being short and simple. So challenge me on that.
Xander, can I just ask a quick question? Your career to date is like a book. How far are you through your book?
It feels like halfway, but this is also has to do with the fact on a personal level. By now, I've been married. I have 2 small kids, so it feels that the real serious life is just starting now. So this is like halfway through life. But I think when a lot of people talk to me, this is the second book already when they hear my stories.
Yeah, I think he's going to achieve a lot. Isaac, over to you.
So Xander, you talked there about your, some passion for youth leadership. I've been lucky enough to facilitate the session for you on Youth World Milk Day.
Yeah.
And I was amazed by the connections you've got from around the world, some that passion shines through. So, how do you go about to get such an engaging and, such a big network of people with such diverse perspectives from around the world? And how did that all happen?
I think there's a couple of causes for that. And I think one is the luck of being working for a ministry. When I was graduating, my professor who I graduated with thought I was crazy as a technician working for a ministry. But that opened up so much of the different worlds and domains connected through agriculture, which makes that you are talking to experts on different levels, global to local, different kind of stakeholders, because you're triggered, I think, as a policy officer to do that. That's one. And the other thing I think is what some people would say is the endless curiosity in people and in different worlds. I think one of the challenges in this world today is getting out of your bubble through social media or for your work, and this is something I think I have as a natural habitat, and also the ability, I think, just to leave my reference pattern at home and absorb everything other people are doing and making the dots. This is something that happens in my mind, at least, when I keep jumping into these new networks and also believe in the possibility, the potential of working together. I think that's the only way we can go forward. So I'm having a burden to not cooperate when I have a conversation afterwards. So this is why I think I built the base and the ecosystem of what's become I4Nature and why I ended up in this world. And how people keep connected to me and wanted to work with me or I4Nature, I leave it up to them. But I think it's also the drive to take steps and do stuff, and that's your stuff.
I love that phrase of it. It's an ecosystem, and what we would call a network, and for you, then it just shows how you think about it. Share with us a story of how this have worked, or and some successes that you've had, and what you've achieved through I4Nature.
I think building on this ecosystem thought, and this is also something that intuitively, like I said, I do a lot because I think a lot of the information is already in your mind, but especially in your behavior already. And we try to explain everything rationally, but I think you have to trust on intuitive decision making, which I think is part of leadership to move forward. Because before I have explained everything rationally, I there's too less time, for me personally at least. So I think one of the examples how this became where I am at this now, and I think it's a success story, is the fact that I was able to build this program and set the base for what I do now at the Ministry of Agriculture. Somebody put a question in my mind, do you want to build this youth program? And that resonated. And maybe I had the sign in my head that I really wanted it, but I wasn't aware of it. So I took that on. I think it's also the boldness, maybe in a healthy way, to move forward and connect with people on different levels. So I was able to do this with the top of the management of the ministry, working with secretary generals, but also putting young people from the big cities or rural areas in that space with this formal leaders that everybody usually finds challenging to talk with or engage with. And I think creating that setting is something I've learned or was able to do quite naturally, having everybody feeling like an expert, but on a formal level, but also connecting on a people level together if you're a CEO or working in the field. And within this dynamic, I have been engaging with a lot of people at the ministry, and one of them was a director of international affairs, because I think the domain of agri-food in the Netherlands, for example, doesn't stop at the border. It goes in cooperation with the UK or on a global level. So this for me was a very important relation to have that scope. Okay, how do things look from a global perspective? And he was very good at that, working at every day. And when I was working outside of the ministry after a few years, believing in putting young people in the driver's seat is something what I've experienced with him myself. Is if you took the metaphor of being in the driver's seat, if you learn how to drive, it's one of the few processes in the world where young people or everybody in the learning process doesn't have to prove that you've written or read a lot of books before you start driving. Usually the first lesson you start driving. And you're in the driver's seat at the steering wheel. And that's the metaphor I keep for a long time, which I had with his director as well, because he has to sit, the generation in the driver's seat at this moment gives you the driver's seat, but he sits next to you, and there's this process still going on, because a lot of older people are quite anxious when they have young people in the driver's seat for food or whatever kind of thing. So this happened, we had this experience together, and I was able to tap back into this relationship when he was getting a new job, which I literally saw on LinkedIn, being the permanent representative in Rome for the Dutch government at the FAO. And I said, intuitively, I sent him a message to Hans Overveen, if you're on this seat on a global level, if you want food security, good food for all, we definitely need a new generation on board, etc. And he said, this is a bullseye, Sander, let's work on this. And I didn't know that he was also driven and passionate to work on this. And we have been co-creating with a lot of other people, not just me, but having youth engagement from the experience we had in the Netherlands at the FAO level, at UN. And he's definitely not the one, but the big leader who made that happen. And now there's this World Food Forum, there's youth engagement, which is a common thing at UN level. And I4Nature has been a big part of this journey, enabling this. And we're working with World Food Forum, building again back to the national level. Okay, we have the engagement globally in this huge UN level, and let's focus again on making the impact in the individuals. So Hans Overveen, by now not the representative of the Netherlands anymore, but the chair of the FAO Council, is one of these great leaders who is very clear in his vision, but really on this high level engagement, but also really personal, open. Send me an email, we'll work on this, and he promises what he wants to do, even if you're a young person from Africa or the Netherlands, whatever. And this, for me, is a great example of how we achieved this. And we were not be able to predict what we're going to do and how it's going to look like and which form, but the intention was there, and the values we wanted to create are there, and the form differed along the way, and we were able to dodge all these challenges and face also serious bumps in the road. But I think this is really a great success story, which made us make You Build Food Day. In the end, You Build Milk Day, which we engage with all these big companies and countries on a global level.
Brilliant! What a story, eh? How do you take some of those learnings and those kind of things that you've learned through, so like the FAO, back to, a big part of I4Nature's mission is to get that into companies. So you work with the likes of Bayer and Nestle. How do you get some of those giants to adopt some of that thinking and build that in commercial companies? And what are the challenges and how do you overcome them?
It is a current. It's an ongoing challenge. I have to say. Also, being passionate and ambitious. Not everybody is capable to make that jumps in vision, global to local level, different stakeholders. So that's something I, with the team and others, have to work on a lot to take them more in a small steps approach along that journey. What happened? Because I think a lot of things are just common, and that's how you do things. So that's also a share of where I'm challenged at how to do that and make sure the learnings are in products or in a way that's first that everybody can take that in, because not everybody is learning how the way I learn. So even when I think that's so common to do, I also forget that within my own journeys. But the fact that I'm able to share that journey, for example, with Hans and UN bodies, that I get the authority or the mandate, I think, to talk with the relevant leaders within those big companies. So it helps each other to make sure you are open and share your experience and not be enclosed and say, this is my secret. If you want to buy it, put your money first there. So being clear about my ambitions, which I want to achieve with I4Nature, is the core thing I do. The corporates, I think, are opposed to a couple of years ago, really challenged by formalities within legislation on sustainability and knowing that they need to change and to bring the bridge within their own new generation, I think, is the key to make that work. So young people working in these corporates, also knocking at the doors or looking with I4Nature together to work on the board level in these organizations, to share, okay, you say you want to contribute something to sustainability or in the value chain of food. I don't see that back. How can we help young people to do that internally? Makes them reflect that leaders say, okay, we need to do this or else they disappear or they bring on a different exposure, not that they want. And being able to literally sit there with young people internally, I think, is something that helps, comforting both generations or both levels. And I think the biggest key, which is also the most difficult, is to let the current boards show vulnerability and not just rationally saying these challenges is what you're faced with and let's agree, but no, how can you make that interpersonal relationship and a board member from a corporate say, okay, I don't know the answer as well, which is not a common thing within corporate companies. And this is where I think the bridges are built and young boards are rising and the trust level is being raised that, okay, we need this new generation because they totally look different at the world than they grew up in a different world. And not every senior board member is saying, okay, I don't know that. They always want to say, yeah, when I was young, I knew what was going on, but it's a different world right now.
Well, one of the things you explained to me, and I think was it last summer, I was at yours and we were having a fire going so late into the evening, and it was fascinating, was the MIT's X theory and theory U, which I think ties in very much with what he's saying now. So can you explain that to me and to the listeners again, and whether we see it was just the beverages that were making it so interesting?
And I think this is a fire and a good beer is in all seriousness, I think something good that accommodates transition or maybe leadership conversation. One of the things that fascinated me, which I also took time to experience, is I think leadership is key in the world now where we challenged by transition and transformation that's needed to make sure we can get the future going with this one world, one planet. And leadership for me is definitely also in an equal level with young people and with current generations. And what I saw, I think that this is essential how we can accommodate this. So this new world arising with current status quo, dealing with everyday business. And I got engaged with a process called the Hubs of Tomorrow, where they invited me as one of the leaders in the Netherlands with 8 other ones to see, okay, how can we change things? And this is where a lot of things came together for my personal vision with this scientifically proven vision, which is from the Presidency Institute in Berlin, which is called Theory U. So it's literally called Theory U because you go through a new process when you visualize it. And it's been developed by interviews. That's the basis of 150 leaders in the world who gave back, okay, what did you experience as key elements when you needed to change, when you were engaged in change in the world? And one of the things is a little bit counterintuitive of most people when they need to change or innovate is to slow down. So connect again back to yourself and to your organization and stakeholders you are engaged with. And from that slowing down, which is the first part of you, they say, align with what you not just know, but also feel, which sounds a little bit, especially for a lot of farmers at first, okay, we're going into this Zen modus now and we're saying hallelujah together, with all due respect, but it's really been a proven concept of that these global leaders also need to be robust and true with themselves and their own leadership before they step into a change process within their organization. So Theory U has helped us a lot to bring back a lot of people in agri and food on a common intention, which you work to. And from that common intention, from the bottom of you, they say, and there's a lot more to it, then step into the fact, okay, what we're going to do together from this common intention, what needs to be done that really makes impact. And the reason for me is to build our program, which we have now done for years, the Hubs of Tomorrow, is that we help young people also, like I said, with the example of Hans Overveen, to be able to step into that arena with leaders around you and be effective in change, but also be very strong in your own conviction and set the tone in the world. And what we see a lot with young people is they are triggered to copy what other people are saying, or what they think that they want the young people, what they want them to say. And what we do is make that arena that, put yourself forward and get the confidence and leadership to do that. And then you see in the Netherlands and a lot of places else now is that a lot of young farmers, for example, do want to change into a more sustainable farming system. But they didn't know how to bring that into their professional world, in their farms or in their food companies.
Jens, with what we're seeing in the UK, it'd be interesting, Xander, to see what you think of this. We're seeing that younger generation create societal change. They won't be aligned to companies unless those companies have a sustainable strategy, a sustainable practice in place. If they don't, they won't join them. If they do, they want to go there and do good. Xander, what do you think?
That's absolutely a very important awareness that I think big companies, but every company and organization should be aware of. And here comes again the Theory U thinking is rationally we can say this to each other and make big reports and say, that this is definitely the case. But in practice, a lot of people go do their thing and nothing is changing. So the examples that Isaac mentioned is definitely where we're talking about. But it's too late, I think. But fortunately, we have this conversation that big corporates see their young professionals, but also the ministries, etc. See the young professionals go away again, which you're hopeful for to bring the change. because they see internally it was a lot of times it was greenwashing. So from the marketing campaign, yeah, we're going to do good and people can work for us. And then they are internally there, and then they say, okay, this was not really much true. It's back to the old base. So this is where our tools as young boards or the processes on the ship we do come in to make sure that these young people are connected with the boards, and the boards are really getting aware, okay, we need to do this because this is going to bring us if we want to have our legacy of produce.
And would that be your warning or your message to big companies? You have to be authentic in that. It can't just be a greenwashing. You've got us, and put your money where your mouth is.
Absolutely, and it is a worrying thing, I think, because we have these big challenges for ag and food globally. It must be in the UK the same, as we've heard. But it's something, in Dutch we have a saying, we were going to close the gap when the calf is already drowned. It's a necessity that comes really late in the awareness. So a couple of CEOs in the Netherlands are shouting out more and more that, okay, nitrogen, the sustainability challenge is really important. But who is going to take on the challenge from the farming field into the food and ag companies? And that's something you need to start working now, and you will see the benefit in a couple of years. But if you don't do that, you won't try with the people. So we've heard that in Canada as well, Isaac, and this has been resonating with me. It's the people that you need to focus on, and it's easier to focus on a technology or a physical solution to something. But make sure that people get connected to food and ag and within your organization. And I think it's much more important.
It's the people that's going to drive the change, so very much so. Talking about people, we've talked a lot about young people, we've talked about corporations, but what's the farmer's perspective on this? How do we engage farmers and primary producers in this side of it and really driving that change throughout the supply chain and throughout the sector?
It's a very challenging. It's a multi-stakeholder approach, I think, because farmers themselves, I think, need to be teach better or facilitated in their learning processes better. That's, I think, what's the best thing. So in formal education, prepare them better, but also this is also what the research I'm doing for NAFTA is about. Okay, how can we accommodate them in not just putting down academic reports, but really hear, okay, what is it you need? How can we help you? And I think the funds are usually way much less for that than there's for technology and innovation. But it's also appreciating in general in the value chain the primary sector better. What we see a lot of times is that the big challenges are pushed to the fields, as you could say, and the farms, and they need to be solved there. But if there's more leadership within the value chain, that these retail, food processors, and everybody who earns a lot of money, I think, with or of farmers, needs to be cooperating more in a joint approach. This can be in a region or in a value chain, but this is definitely going to help farmers because I think there's too much pressure on them now. And if you look at farmers, or I think young farmers, they're really willing to take a step forward on more sustainability or the challenges that society is asking of them. But we need to create literally and informally the space for them to do that, and so help them get the tools how to do that, not just on the farming practice, but also as a person and a leader, but also get more equal or equality, how you frame that, within these value chains. And this is not just for a corporate company in the value chain to visit a farm and say, oh, this is really interesting, this is how a cow looks like, but really when he gets back to the office, start engaging more and work together.
So on a personal level, there's quite often this thing in farming. Well, we've always done it like that. You yourself is not from a farming background. but I've been to where you are now, and your wife Marlene's, and she is the farmer. But there is a bit of I think, some, you know, the old guard of, but we've always done it this way. So how do you, Peter, get that older generation to buy into it and make those changes? Sorry, Jaap.
Yeah, and I think again, leadership is key in that, and this is well, I definitely can share more through links, etc. I'm not going to share it all, but this is also where peer review comes in. Is the case is how you let go of the reference pattern. So I'm not saying this because of bringing on young person agenda again, but if you look at how you build up experience and behavior. This is because of where you were born, your education, etc. How you're able to let that go and value it, but let it go as not being the way to lead forward, especially for young farmers to take that on. I think, and this is where I'm engaged in, like you say now as well, is create new perspective. So getting outside of the bubble, getting a trustful relation with that perspective. Is thinking what we do. So we're helping a lot of farmers in Europe at this moment to build that confidence, because farming is in this case unique, where the family company, the dynamics within being engaged with your parents or uncles, or how does this look like, is really strangled within your business. And I think it's a big challenge of appreciating what they've built and what you've learned, but saying, okay, from the older generation or the younger generation, saying, okay, but we've appreciated, but this is what the new world brings or what it needs. And I'm going to do things differently, and still accepting each other in your formal expert role, and not saying I'm disqualifying you as my son or father, or whatever kind of relationship we have there. And this is a expertise, I think, which is way underestimated, and we're much more easy to focus on. Okay, but let's talk about this new machine we're going to buy, or whatever. That's distraction of the real problem or the real challenge.
Max, do you want to come in?
Yeah,
I'm holding the conversation.
No, it's not a problem. I'm fascinated and learned so much from you both. If there's one word that we're missing from the standards, is collaboration. Everything that I'm learning from you and Isaac and Mark and the other colleagues at AHDB, we've been saying this for 2-3 years. We need to have more collaboration with farming, not just in the UK, not just in the Netherlands, not in Europe, but globally. We've got such a global family that we can lean on each other to learn so much. And sometimes we accuse our sector of being unsophisticated, but you look at the thinking, Isaac, that we've got from the likes of Xander, where he's here it comes, creating this magic dust of this sort of collaboration, this network. Xander, it's almost like you need to do a project with it, like a formal project, like I don't know, like adopt Nuffield or something, to be able to explore this further. Have you looked to explore it further?
And yes, definitely. And this is where my default comes in as I'll give you the project list that we can do, but also I only have 24 hours in a day and a family, etc. But this is where I'm very hopeful that my brother from another mother will be joining in, and we'll find a way how. I did apply for the Nuffield scholarship. I was already working with Nuffield because I think it's a very valuable program also for young farmers. But why we did it, because we want to integrate what we do on the farm and the landscape that we have here to strengthen that with what we do with I4Nature. And 13th of September, I will be presenting my results, which is quite a formal moment, but definitely we'll get that project going, and this is hopefully a little bit of a cliffhanger that people will say, okay, well, we'll be joining, and I hope you definitely will be too, Max. I'm definitely going to drive Isaac personally here to make sure he's part of that. But because I think there's so much potential to help farmers, also young farmers, but also farmers in getting what we're doing now as well, getting into this ecosystem of getting tools and knowledge, or even inspiration or trust for the future that they need, without the formal institutions and instruments that are there. So I hope to bring something onto the table on this ecosystem of farmers who want to lead the future and provide them with some food in a figure of speech, which can be activity projects. But I think also what Isaac mentioned is that beer or campfire, even if it's virtual, to make sure that you're doing the right thing and that you have this horizon of solutions that can help you, instead of feeling, okay, damn, I have to do all these things from all these stakeholders and revert it to potential and a bright future and celebrate farming. And this is where I hope to bring in something into the ecosystem of formal farming, which I'm with 5 toes in and 5 toes out. And I think leadership, I hope to show together with AHDB and Isaac, or the people we're going to work with in the future. But what it exactly entails, which is the mystery, of course, we'll bring in September. And in some way, you might be able to have beanstalk and HSB also in that. So project plans, but you have to wait for curtain opens.
Okay, so just extrapolate that. I understand it's a cliffhanger. We've got to wait till September to see it, and not being very good at I think live streaming or recording it. So hopefully we'll see that success. Come on, let's not be modest here, Xander. What does success look like for you? I intimated about your career, your book. You're on a trajectory here. I can just see it. I can just feel it. What does success look for you like? I don't know, 5 years out. You're doing good. This is not time to be modest. We want to hear, what does success look like for you, say 5 years out? Because Isaac, AHDB, we all want to help you. What does success look like for you, please?
Success looks like, for me, there's 2 ways to describe it. One, it will be from my vision that young people, whatever kind of dimension they're in, that they're being able to sit in that driver's seat, and that a lot of current leaders are sitting happy and smiling, although they don't know where the driver in the driver's seat is driving, that they are looking and working towards a better future, which means young boards in every institution where they formally are engaged in decision-making, a vision where these organizations are going. And that this is the new paradigm, that it's not from the old days that young people are being taught by the old gray people and they're going to tell how the world works, but it's more reciprocal, intergenerational, that young people are also telling the big leaders, okay, but this is how I think we should go forward, and that they would say, let's do this. And the biggest success is that we're telling these stories around campfires in 20, 30 years as old gray people, and then that young people are not surprised because they say, yeah, that's normal, that's not new anymore.
And what are the ingredients for that? So how do we achieve that, Xander? What do you think is what are those ingredients to make that happen? It's
a nice soup, I think. There's some ingredients, and I think there's a big understream in the world going on, that we need to connect to ourselves again, but also back to where we're coming from, into nature. And where do we find that? So renew the relation you have with nature, but also with, in this case, with farming and farmers. And being able, I think that's the biggest ingredient in that soup, would be being able to be vulnerable in the fact that we trust so much in the fact this is how we've done always. Let's get hold of this. This is, I think, how the Dutch politics at this moment work. This is not the road forward. We have to be open and vulnerable and trust each other in the collaboration, and find that trust to go forward. Because we'll know 50% how it's going to work, but 50% probably we don't know, and this is the reality. So you better surrender than try to fight it.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think a big part of that is also being positive. People buy into positivity and really go with it. Celebrate the value of farming and really kind of show the world and show everybody around the globe and the value that we bring to society in farming. So that whole thing about collaboration around the world, and what you're so great at. I think
and shows like this, Isaac and Max, it is, the world's not going to change by these huge fires or disaster we're going to forward, but people go forward and stand up when they feel happy and they have a laugh and they feel like, okay, well, this is gonna make me so much better and happy in life, and let's do this together. So really, really compliments as I've seen it, and yeah, we don't need to underestimate the problems, but we should focus on the opportunities.
Yeah. Jen says, I'm very positive of the future, Isaac, with the likes of Xander on board. There's that old saying, isn't there, that wherever you go in the world, two people have been there before you, the guy selling Michael Jackson t-shirts and the guy selling Coca-Cola. And we have this problem, Xander, in the UK, that there's a stat that comes out from the NFU, National Farmers Union, that 6 out of 10 kids don't know where fresh produce comes from or where milk comes from. But I feel, without trying to cross the line, that there's a movement against highly processed food, and people, the consumer, are now resonating with farming, and they're getting more intrigued by it. So being very optimistic, it feels like our time for the sector is coming. But yeah. Isaac, we need more people like Xander, just being very eloquent in presenting this message. And what a fantastic idea, Youth World Milk Day. What a brilliant idea, because if you get youth interested in milk at such an early age, they're going to love it, they're going to taste it, they're going to enjoy it, and they're going to enjoy it all the way through their life, aren't they? And so, Isaac, are we onto a winner with Xander?
Definitely, and you know, so Youth Milk Day was a great privilege to facilitate that, but we also see it. So I mentioned very briefly at the start, but one of the projects that AHDB is doing is providing, resources into schools, and actually there's a next round opening now, so, where we connect farmers and schools, putting some ingredients into some schools, and there's such a some great resonation with some children and food, and some that reinvigorating of that. So we're really finding some an energy for that. So definitely think we're onto a winner here. So yeah.
And Xander, what do you need from us? Everyone dialed in, whether it be the AHDB, whether it just be people who have found this on the internet, might be some of our international viewers as well. Collaboration. What do you need from all of us? To help you individually, and also for I4Nature, what do you need from us to help you make a success of this, please?
I think I'm very good in also talking about it, like you've heard. But I think the core thing is it's a little bit cheesy, but start acting. So if you find somebody within the infrastructure of I4Nature or inspired, and you meet somebody in a pub and you talk about this thing you've heard, try to find something that you can start, and it doesn't have to be complex. It can be very, very simple. Start doing and share the results in a positive way. I think that's very good, and learning can be very positive. So because if you say this is not working out, somebody is able to help you and make it work. This is something I think we have to share more and practice more. So this is where I4Nature thrives, is everybody does that, and here's this. And definitely also open to see how we can help with the programs and instruments we have, because I think if you collaborate together, and this is the network we want to create, I think we get a bigger critical mass in moving these things forward. And don't invent the wheel again, because like you say, there's probably already somebody who has a couple of wheels in the garage.
The future is bright with the likes of Xander on board. Isaac, we're running out of time. Do you want to wrap up for us?
Yeah, I was just thinking that so one of the great things about Xander, other than his choice of shirts, and that so the shirt we are wearing today is totally by coincidence. Yes, we just happened to turn up and both in some very good flowery shirts by chance today. But Xander, so one of the things I think that really why we've become good mates is that energy and that enthusiasm and that. But how do you find this, and what motivates you? What gets you out of bed, and what how do you face every day and just keep on going with the energy that you do?
It is a challenge. I'm somebody who personally would definitely say that the glass is half full, but I'm also a realist in the fact that it is a rocky road if you talk about change and transformation. So I don't want to underestimate that. But what keeps it thriving, and maybe I'm repeating the message, but is I create, but also I'm part of the network with other peoples where you are able to share the frustration, but also a lot of people with the like-minded mindset that say, okay, but this is how we can dodge it, this is how we can bridge it, this is how we can go forward, and this really helps me maybe just sharing my story with everybody. Make sure that you have this spider web or ecosystem of people not letting you fall back and giving you the energy. And I think that's the comfort I have. Like I'm lying back on a lot of people who are making sure that I'm not doing this alone, and search for that. And I think that helps me a lot. And this is why I think the intuitive choices of sending emails to Hans Hogeveen or saying, okay, I'm going to do this Nuffield application. I think we have to trust more that that's going to help you further, and not just the rationale of, okay, let's think what's going to help me. Just the answer is usually already there. This is where the trust comes from my side.
And just a quick one. Xander sprung this on me when we did a podcast together that people can find. So it shouldn't come as too big a surprise. But which inspirational person should we send interview or get hold of?
There's a lot of them there, but well, definitely would advise you to get in touch with Hans. He would definitely be an asset and a seriously valuable interview in this conversation, and be open for it. But putting aside, for me, always been a leader as well. It's very Dutch name, so I can write it down for you. It's Dennis Karpes. He's a leader, I think a leader from the Netherlands, who's been setting up from nothing these great movements in the world, believing in his true vision, but also positively and specific concrete results are there. He did Dance for Life and Just Dig It, and he's working on this new initiative right now. And he's really also able to be modest. And I think that's a new leadership. Not saying everybody look at me, but making sure that the community is thriving and the common goal is the first priority. And Dennis Cox would be really interesting for you to interview next to Hans, who is in the formal system, and Dennis would be in this informal world where corporates are supporting and praying, can we join you? And the Hans Hogeveen would be in the institution of 190 something countries, every millimeter shifting. So these are two extremes, but very interesting leaders to talk to.
Excellent. I think we've run out of time, Max, but I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Xander.
Likewise, thank you very much.
Xander Beks, doing good, CEO at I4Nature. Look at his website, www.i4nature.world. Follow him on social media. Isaac, you could just see where Xander's going, can't you? But he needs us, but we also need him. So I think he's definitely one to watch. Just to wrap up, Xander, what's your favourite colour of dairy cow, please?
Jersey brown.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, I've got to ask Isaac. Isaac, what's your favourite colour of dairy cow?
I do like jerseys as well. Some good. Some Frisian, British Frisians are good cows.
We've got to go to the podcast. Well done. I've learned so much today. Xander, thank you very much for being August broadcast of AHDB Talking Leaders. We wish you all the best for the future. And if we can all help in any way to create the success that we know you're going to create, please just reach out to us. Thank you very much, and apologies for the slightly intermittent internet. We all know it's held together these days by chewing gum and baler twine. We're all used to it. We just apologise if it dropped out a little bit. Xander, Isaac, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye. Have a great summer.